So Michelle, for GPI and yourself, like what are, I guess, your biggest hopes within ESG and corporate sustainability in 2025?
Well, it's an interesting time that we're in right now with all of the changes that come out each week with the new proclamations. And I think my biggest hope is that even though companies might in general be being a little less vocal about some of their aspirations, that it's kind of exciting that now is the time when companies are going to really walk back from the big talk and maybe focus more on doing the work and delivering results and delivering impacts. So I think that is what's really exciting about this time right now.
In that case, what are your main ESG priorities looking forward to the year ahead then?
Well, there's two. The first is I've just finished my first 3 years at the company and completed the
Congratulations,
implementation.
by the way.
Thank you. Completed the first 3-year strategy that I laid out for the company as we work to further embed sustainability within the corporate operations. I think that right now that it's time to look ahead to the next 3 years and really revisit and assess the progress that we've made and think about what it is we want to accomplish over the next 3 years of our journey as we increase our level of maturity within the company. And then secondly, us, like many of the other large multinational companies, we're all struggling with regulatory compliance, particularly with reporting requirements.
I know it kind of ties back to the first question, but are you excited for it?
Well, I can't really say I'm super excited about it because it's not a trivial level of effort, and most sustainability teams are small. We have small budgets and we have a few people. And so all of the resources are going towards reporting and looking backwards versus doing the work we all need to do to deliver impact. So it makes me sad that all of that time and financial resources are being diverted away from doing good to reporting on what we've done in the past.
And I guess the last question to round things off, Michelle, and I guess in your own words if you can, but how does Datamaran support you and provide value to GPI and I guess your organization and your sustainability efforts?
Well, one of the things I love about the tool is the ability to use the AI capabilities of it to track the kind of changes in priorities with the external stakeholder benchmarks to understand how external stakeholders are viewing our defined topic areas, and in particular to see which stakeholders are driving those changes to really understand who are the audiences we might need to target more in our reporting and our communications to make sure that they're getting the information that they need. And I also really think that the monitoring features are a really great feature, and being able to see how those priorities are changing over time, and be able to use that too to then create the insights and what's behind them and where are the risks, and share that information with our board of directors. They really find that information valuable in helping them to meet their due diligence requirements and understanding and keeping their fingers on the pulse of changing trends in sustainability.
Hi Derek, it's wonderful to see you here at GreenBiz 2025. Thrilling to see you among so many people here. What are your first impressions of the event?
It's massive. It's gets bigger every year. Last year I remember thinking, could it get any bigger? And then I walked on the floor this morning, and more booths than ever, more people than ever, and to see this space, the sustainability space, grow so much is amazing, and it's much needed.
Yeah, and I think it is much needed in such a climate as we find ourselves in 2025. I'm curious, what are some of the key themes that you have found to be the most interesting at the conference?
Sure, yeah. So I think for us at Teleflex, we're very focused on CSRD and the implications there. Also just with the US political climate, what are companies doing or not doing? How are companies handling the environment that we're in right now? And just understanding what is the kind of next, big innovation on the scenes as well. With climate change, we need more and more technology, we need more solutions. So what are those, and kind of what's up and coming, and what can we expect in the future?
Yeah, and it's great to hear you say CSRD. It is a priority for many, and it is the great unknown, uncharted waters. I think that feels very consistent. So that sits at the top of your priority table for 2025. What are the other one or two topics that are currently occupying you at Teleflex?
Yeah, so I think again, it's a couple different areas. For us, we have a lot of customers that are really, really interested in pushing us towards, kind of their own priorities and requirements on their side. So meeting those targets and ambitions as well. And continuing to embed sustainability into our corporate strategy It is one of our corporate pillars, but again, continuing to embed that in the culture, figuring out how to make sure we can engage employees properly, make sure it's embedded in the sales process, innovation, R&D, all the different corporate functions.
That sounds like a lot of work, a lot of internal stakeholder management and convincing. Tell me, how do you go about that?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. So we obviously have the broader employee base. So our corporate comms team really helps and supports us on that, between corporate emails, town halls, different webinars, events, lunch and learns, all that kind of stuff. But then we also have a multi-stakeholder approach when it comes to the different level of employees. So when we're talking to our C-suite versus those in our manufacturing sites is very different. So making sure that we're talking to our employees about the things that they care the most about. So for them, often it's more of the social lens, but often now with the Gen Z coming into the workforce more and more, we're getting questions about climate change and what we're doing and where are we and how can they help.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing as well, and you mentioned it at the beginning, is you're wrangling a lot of different priorities across a load of different stakeholders within the organization. What role can technology play to help you do that?
Yeah, it's huge. It can make things so much simpler. So for us, instead of having to spend a ton of time doing nitty-gritty research, reading through PDFs and all that kind of stuff and mining the information, we can use softwares like a Datamaran to really do a lot of that heavy lifting for us. And then we can focus on the strategy and the communications and all of that. So when it comes to all the innovations in AI being helping to develop, our reporting structure and our overviews and all those different types of things that, we now don't have to spend hours and hours on. Again, we can focus on what's the next key priority for us to make the progress and make sure we can keep on target with our climate change objectives.
That's fantastic. And I know that you've just started your journey with Datamaran. How are you finding your initial sort of findings in helping use Datamaran to shape some of the obligations that you're working towards?
It's been huge already. So we're about a month into implementation, and already we've been using the regulatory tool to really understand the landscape of what we can expect. And we do report back to our steering committee, our sustainability steering committee, as well as our board of directors, our nom and gov committee. And so we report to those different groups based upon what's coming up. So now we can already be looking into, okay, what's on the horizon? What can we expect? What should they be knowing about? And make sure that we're on target as well to meet those objectives.
We're here at GreenBiz in sunny Phoenix in 2025. Not your first GreenBiz, might I add. But I'm very keen to hear 2025, new year, new challenges. We've just had CSRD cascade into the European market. A lot has changed for 2025. Tell me a little bit more about what for you are some of the main things that you're going to be thinking about in 2025.
So definitely thinking about all the regulations that are coming, CSRD and the acronym SOUP. And we are excited though to really execute on our strategy too. Climate strategy, we're really making great moves there. Our supplier due diligence strategies, so not just the regulatory compliance, even though that's really important, but really executing on the foundation that we've been building for our ESG program over the last 3 years.
And it sounds like you're pretty well prepared as well to be juggling so many things at the same time. I'm curious to hear what have been some of the challenges that you have sort of in view to needing to sort of master and finagle around in 2025?
I think that this is new for a lot of people, right? It's not necessarily surprising to us as ESG professionals, but for folks across the business, this is new. And so it takes time to help everybody understand what the true value of these regulations are beyond compliance, right? Of course, it is a compliance exercise, but we're really doing our best to position this in a way that really adds value for the business, and we're really confident that we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I heard you talk on a panel earlier about how you're doing some wonderful work bringing together so many different stakeholders within the business. Tell us your secret. How are you getting this done?
I mean, we have never ever worked with more folks across the business than we have today. We are just taking our time to engage and upskill and really meet people where they're at and understand their function in the business and how they can add value to the work that we all have to do. I mean, we have to do it collaboratively and collectively, or we won't be able to do it successfully. So we have been able to partner with teams all across the organization, from finance and internal audit and accounting to legal and government relations and sourcing and HR and so on. So we have already had close ties with those teams for our voluntary reporting, but this is a whole nother level because we're making decisions together, which I think is so important to actually embedding this work across the organization.
And so you, on that point of making decisions together, I know you've been partnering with Datamaran for a little while. Tell me a little bit about how that feeds into some of the work that you're going to be doing this year.
Yeah, so Datamaran is one of the tools that we use to help streamline and make our work more efficient, right? So without tools like Datamaran and other types of technologies, it requires a lot more people power to do that research, that benchmarking, that assessment. And so finding tools that help to streamline that frees up my team and other teams' time to do the work, right? The work that really matters. So we're using Datamaran for benchmarking, for materiality, and also for generating impacts, risks, and opportunities, which will be used for our regulatory preparedness.
Angela, wonderful to see you here at GreenBiz
Likewise,
2025. I'm curious, it's day one. How are you finding it? Any changes from last year that you've observed?
I am very excited to be here. It is inspiring. It is good to see old friends. It is good to feel the spirit. We are all bringing a lot of questions. There's a lot of changes in the political environment, but that doesn't mean that the issues are going away. So I love to see all these people still committed and looking for solutions, and instead of just being blocked by the issues. So I see hope, and I'm very, very happy to be here.
So we have a lot of people here from all over, not just the United States, but all over the world who are coming here. And they talk to us about lots of different priorities that they're setting themselves for 2025. What are the one or two key things on your agenda for 2025?
So we are an electric utility, and our role in the energy transition continues to be key. So understanding in that energy transition how everything has changed and what is our new role, and explaining who we are, we have been for more than 100 years, it's the main challenge. It is nothing new, it's nothing political. There is nothing political about being committed to our communities, committed to the state of New Jersey, committed to the environment. So making the links between our daily operations and our strategic priorities and the societal and environmental goals are my main goals, and just wait and see how things evolve, what other individuals, organizations, entities will come out and ask from us something different, and how we engage with stakeholders and just move forward.
That's great. And I think what I'm hearing from not just you, but a lot of the individuals here is obviously the changing tides and perceptions. But I'm curious, as you start to work through your priority list for 2025, you mentioned a lot being able to ensure you're setting the right course and charting that course. Having been a Datamaran customer for some time, help me understand how you use Datamaran to help you chart that course.
Yes, the good an advantage of Datamaran is the fact that you guys allow us to understand, or help us understand the opinions and perceptions and priorities of our stakeholders on the spot at the right moment. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all the information that we can get at this moment. It's great because there is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of biases out there, and for us it's very important to balance the priorities of our stakeholders compared against our own priorities, and then match them accordingly. And that's exactly what Datamaran is helping us to do.
That's fantastic. So I like the role of data to facilitate that internal dialogue that you have. Do you also use it to facilitate that external facing dialogue?
No, at the moment it's more in our sustainability priorities and how we communicate, and the choosing exercise, the prioritizing exercise and just having some data-driven tool to confirm that what we're saying is actually true, and we did our homework to understand it.
Fantastic. And then thinking through the rest of the event, what are some of the highlights that you're looking forward to? Are there any sessions you're like, this is unmissable, except the Datamaran coffee?
Of course, yes. The events with our greatest partners. So I'm looking forward to hearing the change in the communication style. There are many panels that I am looking forward to attend that are focusing on exactly that. What do we say now? How do we say it? We're not changing what we're doing. We're just trying to adapt the communication style of the words. And I want to hear how our peers are doing. I already met a couple of my peers having conversation about our reality today. I just want to hear that. But all the panels are fantastic, and there are many interesting things to learn from this conference.